Hi everyone, and welcome to the session Designing Intentional Writing Scaffolds with Canva AI. My name's Nicola Bernardo, and I'm really excited you're here. A little bit of context before we dive in. I have been a primary school educator for over 10 years now, which is very, very scary, but also wonderful. For the past 2 years, I've worked as a digital facilitator and learning trainer. So supporting purposeful technology integration across more than 40 schools. So lots of tools, tips, tricks, things along the way that I learned from working with hundreds of educators. My background is in learning design, so I spend a lot of time thinking about how tools support learning, not just how they function. I also host a short weekly podcast called Term Talk Podcast, where I explore foundations before action and how to reduce cognitive load in teaching. Today, I'll show you how to use Canva AI to design intentional writing scaffolds. AI is everywhere right now, and in education, it can feel both exciting and uncomfortable. On one hand, teachers are time poor, overloaded, and tools can save time that can give you some relief. On the other hand, writing is thinking, and if we're not careful, AI can accidentally remove the thinking part for students. So the problem is not AI itself. The problem is when AI is used to generate the final product instead of supporting the learning process, that is where we see issues like students producing work they cannot explain, writing that sounds polished but lacks understanding, dependence on templates without independence, and teachers spending more time trying to work out what students actually know. So today is not about using AI to write for students. It's about using AI to support structure, planning, clarity, and independence. Scaffolds are not extra, they're design choice. A good scaffold makes expectations visible. It holds structure so the students can focus on their thinking. A scaffold is especially important when students are learning a new genre, when they're struggling with organizing their ideas, students have learning needs, or students might need support with executive functioning and working memory. When scaffolds are designed well, they reduce cognitive load without reducing rigor. They also support equity because students are not relying on the guesswork to work out what you want or expect for that task or lesson. Before we jump into Canva AI, I want to introduce a simple framework I developed for whenever I'm using AI or a digital tool. It's called the C.L.E.A.R framework. Let's go through it together quickly before we start seeing the learning in action. C is for clarify the learning outcome. So what do the students need to learn, not just complete? So what is your learning intention? What are you trying to get them to achieve? Knowing what that is, your purpose, before selecting the tool. L is locate the human work. What is the focus? What is in scope, out of scope? What must remain teacher-led, student-led, and how will the tool help enhance this? E, establish the role of AI. What does success look like? What do I want the tool to do or help me with? A is align your learners, making sure that you have the appropriate age, language level, support needs, extension needs, all those factors when you are writing your prompt or choosing your tool. I also use this part to engage the students as well. I show them what I've done, what I've created, and why, and invite them to give me feedback, whether it's positive or working towards. This also helps give that class voice and autonomy, and also model the learning process authentically in front of them. And then lucky last R, reflect and optimize with a teacher lens. I also draw on the students' reflections here too, because I've designed this learning for them. If I'm not evaluating if it was successful or what could be tweaked for next time, then Why am I using the tool? It's really important that reflecting is part of your practice, especially when you're using online tools. AI can draft, but teachers need to decide. Tools do not create clarity, your thinking does. And that's really important to remember. Now that we've clarified the thinking behind the intentional scaffold design, let's move into Canva Code and see what this looks like in practice, creating an online interactive template for your students to use before they start their writing. So we're going to step into Canva and access the AI tools in just a moment. To do this, you need to have a Canva account. Now, if you don't know, Canva Pro is free for all educators and your students. So if you don't have an email yet, definitely endeavor in doing that, because the Pro tools and the access you have will not only optimize your time, but will help you see creating lesson plans and tasks in a whole new world. Canva really has streamlined this for educators everywhere. So I've got a little screenshot just here to show you when you have logged in, click home, and then you click on Canva AI. It's that little button at the top right corner. And it's really important to click code. We are doing Canva Code today. So clicking that little button just helps filter so that Canva knows exactly what we're using today. Now, it might be a little hard to see on your screen, but don't worry, you'll be able to access the slides at the end of the recording. Your prompt is so important, especially when you are trying to design something for your class. And that's again where the C.L.E.A.R framework really helps support this. So as you can see, I've got two examples here. There's a week example. So I've gone into many schools where they have used a prompt like this, where it's a few lines, and because in their head they know what they want, they sort of assume that the tool will be able to create that. Well, we've got to remember that AI is a tool. It's not a human. It will not infer. It only knows what you have given it. So the more boundaries, instructions will help it create what you want faster. So have a look at my prompt on the right side. So that's a strong prompt. So I actually used Canva AI, the magic AI, to write this and help me include everything. So you may be able to see I've got the curriculum alignment in there, I've got the goal, I've got my purpose, what I want, I've included what I don't want. So don't generate a complete speech. It's a planning template. I don't want you to write a speech for them. But generate interactive Canva page, scaffold. So I've given very explicit instructions and I'm aligning it to the outcome of the curriculum as well. So I'm making sure that, again, I'm clear on what I would like. Your teacher lens here, your knowledge is where it's really important here. I'm able to use my background, what I know about my class, the environment, what's going on to create this prompt specifically for my class. You can include differentiation, needs extension, those sorts of things, keywords, key frameworks. But the more detail you give, the better it will appear. So I've got an example there. Again, you'll be able to access it at the end and you can give it a try yourself. But it's there just to sort of show you the comparison and again to make note of that critical lens when you're creating a prompt and making sure you've spent time, again, going through the C.L.E.A.R framework, making sure those first C.L.E., really important parts of your prompt. Okay, so if you've signed into Canva, this is the home page. So you can see the navigation panel on the side has lots of options here. They actually have the Canva AI you can click, and there's Design School where there is step-by-step instructions, videos, cheat sheets for you if you would like a more slow-paced or even quick pace of content in Canva. There's lots of options. So Canva AI, you can click that. Or if you go to home, you can see it says your design templates, Canva AI, click, same thing. Now, as I mentioned before, it's really important for what we are doing today. I'm generating an interactive tool. I need it to be created. So I'm using code. So I'm clicking code here. it changes now what Canva will do. Now I've already copied the prompt, so I'm going to paste it now. There it is. And I'm going to click submit. Now, as you can see, it's starting to think. And this is the phase that I just love. You get to actually see the code come to life. I show my class this. They think it is the coolest thing they've ever seen. They've heard of code or maybe seen it, but to actually see the code live in front of them like this is really impressive. And it just sort of excites them more and creates that anticipation of what's to come, what are we creating together. So you've got your prompt, so you've gone through in terms of the C.L.E.A.R framework, you've gone through the C, the L, the E, this is the A part. You could do this live with the students, so you're actually learning together. You know, you've explained where the prompt came from, what the intention is, and now this is the action and reflection part as well. You're inviting the students to join you. You want them to be a part of the lesson, the thinking, the design, the learning. It's no use just showing them the tool and asking them to use it. That doesn't encourage engagement or motivation. By actually helping design the tool, designing the prompt, pasting it, putting it in here and seeing what they create come to life, then iterating it in real life with them and putting their ideas, their voice into it, it creates this, you know, upgrade of engagement. The children will be, you know, trying to get out of their seats as fast as they can to use this tool. So the code takes about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to pause the recording now, and then when it's finished, I'll press record again so that we don't lose precious time that we have together. Okay, we're in. Now, there's two parts of this. So as you can see on the left-hand side, there's my prompt, and it's the tool that you use to keep critiquing what has been developed for you. So on the right side is the example of the tool. So speech planning tool. It even has the progress up the top so the students can see where they're up to in their planning. So they write their name. This is fantastic. If they're signed into their Canva account, it will save this data automatically in a spreadsheet for you. That's that little dot up there. You can see it in the top. It says data. But if their name is there, it will be able to record it in the spreadsheet for you so you can streamline responses. It's broken it up, your topic and position. So again, it's got the topics that I asked for. So this was specific, the school gave these. I didn't have a choice in these topics. But then it's encouraging them to tell the teacher, or to tell this template their opinion and their belief. And it's even got prompting there. So I believe that, in my opinion, I strongly think. It's used the high modality words with persuasive writing. Then it's getting them to brainstorm their 3 reasons. If you can't think of 3 reasons, then the idea might not be strong enough. This is a really good design. I love, for reason 1, your strongest point. Again, that's best practice teaching with writing. You do start with your strongest point to convince the audience, your idea. So it's picking up just pedagogy from my prompt, from my outcome, and from all the other education tools it's created. So here's example or evidence. So again, it's helping them. Reason 2, example or evidence. Audience takeaway. So what do you want them to think, feel, or do? This is really good for the call to action, really important. And then speech structure. Sorry, I'm speaking fast because I'm so excited. This speech structure, you can plan your introduction, body, and conclusion. So again, it's giving them a rough example. So introduction, 20, 30 seconds. Your hook, grab, state your position clearly. Your body of the speech, your conclusion, and then it's even added the call to action like I have asked. It has a checklist, so they can tick off what they've done or what they want to practice.
There's a rehearsal plan, so when they're going to rehearse and how and what and who and all those things. There's even a self-reflection support. I love this. So sentence starters, opening hooks, stating your opinion, conclusions, connectives. So this is where the teacher lens is important too. You need to check the spelling is correct, the grammar is correct. It actually has examples that you would like. So that's where, again, your lens comes in. I don't know if you noticed when I clicked the drop down, so the title says support sentence starters. When you click it, the text goes upside down. So that's something that I can then go back and edit to change that in the code over here in this box. And that's just a bit of a design feature. Let's have a look at extension. So same thing, it flipped it. Rhetorical question, language, facts, inclusive language. Yeah, it knows what I like in my writing. Again, if you're creating your prompts in the same place regularly, you're training that AI model for how you think and what you want in your learning. So I'm lucky I have that sort of context as well. And then it has saved my progress. So students have to do that. So it saves the data. Now, just a few things while we're in here. You can show them the code again. This is your still editing phase. So you can do this first and then get the students to trial, or you could do it live with them editing and giving you feedback and then trialing it. It depends on your class, your time, your environment. When I first did it, I gave them the finished tool, but I did the steps of, why I chose the purpose, what I would like, what's the intention. So I did all those steps, gave them the tool, and then asked for their feedback. Then we came back and did this editing. So it's really up to you. This is the button you click and it will open you to a linked sheet already created by Canva with all the filters and columns based on this speech planning tool. Now, the fun part, once you've created this and you're happy, I always publish as a website. I just find it's easier to navigate and for the kids to access and use. So if you have a teacher Canva account, again, you're able to have websites and they don't cost anything extra. So the sub part, so I'm going to call it, speech planning, maybe year 5. You can call it whatever you like, and then you publish it. So when you've published it, once it's done, it's ready to go live. So you can share the link with your students. So here you go, you can copy it or you can view the website. And when you do that, that's where they can fill in their information. Again, if they're signed into their Canva account, it automatically saves their name and who they are. So you're able to get the data and use that to reflect on the lesson. So I'll show you the website in a moment and how it works. Okay, so just a little quick demo. This is the speech planning tool opened on a web page. So you can scroll down like that to see the task. There it is. Name, so Nicola D. And as you can see, the progress bar has moved up because I've added. So choose my topic. Let's just say homework helps students learn. The progress has moved again. So they're able to see the progress as they fill in the form. If they don't have time to finish it all for that day, scroll down, save my progress. It cut off on my screen, but it said progress saved in green. So it shows you that it's saved. It even has the date and the time at the bottom, and it will store your data in this template and on your Canva page too. Again, that's why it's important for students to sign in with their Canva account so that the data and their work is all saved for teacher critical lens, but also for the student learning to, and to feel successful.
So mindful we don't have a lot of time, I tried to go through the C.L.E.A.R framework as clearly as I could and just break it up step by step. so that you could follow. You'll have more time with the recording of this session to pause and go back if you need to, or to reiterate things. So in regards to what we just saw, the planning for their persuasive writing or speech writing, so I used this C.L.E.A.R framework to help me choose the right tool to make this successful for the students and also for me to help optimize my time. So I had to think about what I wanted. I wanted it to look nice, the students to be engaged. I thought a scaffold because I'm able to break things up, not assume things, steps. So I had already my teacher lens of things that I wanted. I chose Canva because it's a design tool, a learning design tool. It has all these features to make things look engaging or exciting. So it takes away that cognitive load for me of the editing, changing the adding and changing the boxes on Microsoft Word to make a scaffold the way I previously used to do it. It already aligns everything just quickly. It aligns in seconds. It's incredible. So in terms of optimizing my workload, I needed a scaffold, and I was able to put in with my teacher lens the content. So the tool supported my intention. It didn't define it. So it was pretty clear on my learning intention before I started with what I wanted. Then I went down to L, so locate the human work. So again, I had to look at what will I be doing? What will the tool be doing? What will the students be doing? So I was able to design the differentiation. I did the modeling in class. I did the introduction. So I'm setting up all the pedagogy aspects of the lesson, but this tool was able to be used to enhance and engage the students in the task. So my knowledge, my content knowledge, and my classroom environment knowledge helped me make sure that the prompt that I created was specific to my students and their needs. So again, had to think about that. It was really important when I was crafting the prompt. I use dictation on my phone when I'm writing out my thoughts and ideas, so I'm not having to, sit there and full stop, capital letter, thinking of all the, punctuation, grammar. I'm just able to talk about what I'm thinking, feeling, what I would like, and then AI is able to use my words, my vocab, and make it, in a clear sequence that I can follow and use straight away. So it's my ideas, my voice, but the tool has helped enhance my time, I suppose, my workflow. So students generated their ideas, their arguments, their wording. I had the prompt of the boundaries for the task. So the human cognitive work remained intact. The tool was facilitating and encouraging their learning. So E, established the role of AI. So again, it didn't generate the speech. It created a scaffold based on my very clear boundaries and outlines. I could see the students planning instantly. I could identify who needed support. I could update the scaffold without losing student work. It was an incredible tool for the purpose of planning their writing. It had lots of options to differentiate. They could listen, record, write. There was so many options for them to access this task as well. So again, I was really clear of the role. And then my favorite part was the A, align with your learners. So actually engaging them in your process and what you've done is so important. So I didn't just give them the planning tool and say, off you go, it's time to write. I spent time saying, oh my goodness, I tried something new today. I tried Canva Code. This is the first time I've created it. And I really would like your feedback because I planned it for you and I hope that you like it. But I'm also wanting your reflection so I can make it the best tool ever. So, inviting them in that thought process of, I chose this tool because of this. This is my prompt. So I show them the prompt. I show them how the code creates the tool that they're about to use. And that excitement in itself encourages and engages the students. They were literally like at their seats, pivoting, trying to get started on this task. They were so excited because it was new. I was learning. I asked for their feedback. I had targeted their needs. So they were looking at it going, oh my gosh, I want to use this. It was amazing. But even with that as well, because I invited their reflections and their what would they change or what would be even better, I was able to edit that instantly in the Canva Code toolbox, prompting box. So they were seeing that we were iterating live. I was valuing their ideas, adding it to the design. It was an incredible process. And it really created that intrinsic and extrinsic motivation for the students. It was wonderful to watch. So, lucky last of the C.L.E.A.R framework are reflect and optimize. And I have sort of touched base on this throughout my presentation, but this step is so important, that critical lens and reflection of what you did and if it was successful or what you can improve will help you with your future learning design processes. I do this myself, but I also do this with my students. I invite them in the discussion. I want to know what they liked, what they didn't like, what they might change or add. All of that is part of the learning process. It's teaching them to edit, reflect. There's so many skills in that, the discussion, collaboration. This is the part that we assume students know how to do it and have the vocabulary for it. It's interesting. In the lessons and classes that I've taught, this is not the case. So I try not to assume that they do know how to do this part of the framework, and I encourage it and model it. As teachers, we, yes, talk the talk, but we have to also walk the walk. If you're going through this framework, you are very clearly, practicing what you're preaching. You are showing your learning process with your students. It's authentic, it's real, and they're part of this process. There's student voice, autonomy. They're not just being given the task, here, do the task. They're given choice and opinions, and their voice matters. It's really, really a simple way to engage and start these conversations about, the purpose of the tool, why we're using it, what we're doing, what we're not doing, and then reflecting on it, what went well, what we'd change next time, and what we would remove even. There's lots of things you can be thinking about in this stage. Children don't have that scaffold yet. So in this part of the framework, you can model that and experience it firsthand. Before we finish, I want to gently remind you of something. Tools are powerful, but they're not the starting point. Your thinking is. Canva has incredible capabilities, but what makes them powerful in the classroom is not the feature. It's the intention behind it. If this session was helpful, the slides are attached and some additional resources. The C.L.E.A.R framework, outcome-aligned prompt template, and an educator reflection. So you can start applying this in your own context. If you would like to explore the framework further, feel free to connect with me from my website, termtalk.com.au. It's attached on the slide. Again, thank you for joining me. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, my contact details are here on this slide. Thank you for taking the time to think carefully about how we design learning. Tools do not create clarity, thinking does.